Welcome back. This is Diane Conklin with CompleteMarketingSystems.com, and I hope that you enjoyed last week's part one. Today we are going to jump into part two of the marketing triangle, and the message will be message. So last week we talked about your market, and hopefully you asked for the target market checklist. If you did not, feel free to still do that. Just shoot an email to info at CompleteMarketingSystems, systems is plural.com. And again, info at CompleteMarketingSystems.com. I would be happy to get you a copy of the target market checklist. If you did do that, by the way, and you went through it, I would love to hear your feedback and your comments about it was helpful, if you felt like something was missing, if you felt like it was really complete, if you now have a target that you didn't have before. I would love to hear what that is and the specifics that you went through to get that. So feel free to share that with me. Again, today we're going to talk about message. I just want to remind you that, again, my definition of marketing is everything you do to put yourself in a position to sell something to a new or existing client. So it's all the stuff you do before the sale, all the stuff you do after the sale, and before the next sale, or the subsequent sale, or the next sales, I should say, to your client. Just keep that in mind especially as we talk about today about your message. All right, so we talked about market. We did that last week. Again, if you want the target market checklist, info at Complete Marketing Systems, just put target market checklist in the subject line, include your name if you would please, and a phone number. That would be great. So today we're going to talk about message. All right, so that's where we're going to go. So here's the question about message. The question is, what are you saying? So it's the what, right? And how are you saying it? Those are the two really important things. What are you saying and how are you saying it? Does the person reading or hearing your message, do they know what you want them to do? In other words, is there a call to action? And do they understand what it is that you're saying to them? So what you're saying, how you're saying it, and then the clarity. Are you clear in your message so that the person reads it, knows exactly what it is that you want them to do, or how to get in touch with you if they want to know more, right? And is it concise? In other words, I could do a 30-minute, I could do an all-day session on this marketing triangle. But what I'm trying to do is it's somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes or less, really get you a clear, concise way that you can work on your message, your market, and your media in a way that makes sense and gets tied together. And hopefully it's clear and concise, direct and to the point, because that's how I like to do things, right? So what are you saying? How are you saying it? Does the person reading it know what you want them to do? And is your message then clear and concise? So the who are you saying it to, that's really your market, right? That's what we talked about last week, was who's the market. Where you're saying it is the media, which we'll talk about next week, right? But the message piece of this has to be about, are they understanding, right? Are you clear and concise? Do they understand, and is it targeted and specific to them, which is your market, okay? So again, we're long past this whole idea of sending a message in a bottle, right? So here's the question that I want to talk about for just a couple of minutes here, is your message. Let's go back to the slide. Here we go. All right. Let's go back to this. Nowhere on here does it say you have to be an amazing copywriter or amazing at video. What it does say is that you have to understand who you're talking to. Understand, and that we covered last week was the who, right? What is it that you're saying and how are you saying it? What's the message you want to get across to them? Do you want them to attend your event? Do you want them to come to a webinar? Do you want them to just buy your program, product, or service? Do you want them to coach with you, right? Is your message clear and concise? Is your message talking to them? Again, that's the who that we talked about last week, which was who's your market. Now, what is it that you're saying to them? Again, last week we said we would talk to a 20-year-old different than we would talk to a 50-year-old. So, same thing, same kind of thing here, right? Do they understand what it is that you're saying, and is it resonating specifically with your market? So think again, here's the great thing, if you are one of them, if you are the person that you're talking to, right? So women is your market. If you're a woman and you have an understanding, you don't have to be a woman, but let's use a different example. Let's say your niche is lawyers or doctors or plumbers, right? Or pet groomers. It helps if you are one because you can talk their language, right? Let's say you were selling, I spoke a couple years ago for Merle Norman, which is a cosmetics company. Some of you are laughing right now because you know that that's not makeup isn't my big thing. But I understood enough about mascara and all of those kinds of things, right? The liners and the skincare and all of that to be able to talk to them in a way that they understood, right? That they knew I related to them. And so I often say if you are one, especially if you're in a niche, if you are one and you understand them and have some kind of, that creates a relatability right there. But the message piece of it, if you're talking to the right people and the message is good, then it's good enough, right? So again, what are you saying and how are you saying it? Are you clear and concise? Those are really the big things. But I want you to think specifically now as you're writing this or as you're talking to this in a video or on an audio or doing an interview or whatever it is that you're doing. Are you talking specifically to the market that you have now chosen, right? The one that you've worked out. Are you talking their language, or are you talking to, are you using football language to a basketball player? Okay, now that might sound silly, but sometimes our messaging is off, right? We don't want to talk to dog owners about grooming them, right? If our product is a plumbing product. And again, I know these are apples and oranges when I'm talking about these things, but sometimes these nuances make a big, big difference. If your market in that the skincare industry is a 20-year-old, you're going to talk to them about different things because they're going to take care of their skin differently than a 50-year-old. They're going to need some different products, not all, right, than a 50-year-old who's already has aging and things going on potentially in their skin. So the message piece is important, just like the market was. Again, if I have to rate these, the market piece is the most important because it's the who. This is now the what and the how. So we're going to talk a lot more about the where next week when we talk about the media, right? So we've talked about market, we've talked about message. Hopefully you can see how those two things fit together, right? The message that you're talking to has to fit your market. If it doesn't fit your market, then you have an issue, you have a problem, you're going to have a challenge because the message might be great, but if you're talking to the wrong person, again, you're talking to them about dog grooming and it's a plumber and he doesn't have a dog, there's a disconnect, right? So the message could be awesome. It could be world-class copy, but it falls flat because your market isn't right. Same thing, you can be talking specifically to the right market, but if your message isn't resonating because you're talking to them about, age spots and skincare, and your market is a 20-year-old market, probably the wrong message. It's not that the message wasn't good, but it was the wrong message to the wrong market. Okay, one of them, they have to line up. This is critical. This is the critical piece of those two things lining up. So again, what is it that you're saying? How are you saying it to them? Do they understand? Are you clear and concise? Do they know what you want to do? And again, we're not talking about call to action here, but every message needs a call to action. What is it that you want them to do specifically? And when you tell them, they will hopefully go do it if the message resonates with them and they want what you have. So again, hopefully that was helpful. If you have questions, again, shoot me an email at info@completemarketingsystems.com. Be happy to answer anything that you have. Next week, we're going to talk about media and how that plays in with the market and the message. Because remember, the marketing triangle has 3 pieces, and all 3 of them need to tie in. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have questions, let me know. I'm Diane Conklin with CompleteMarketingSystems.com. Make it an amazing week, and we'll talk to you really, really soon.